Welcome to Urban Lore, where we explore the most haunting and mysterious stories from the shadowy corners of the world. Today, we dive into one of the most intriguing and enduring urban legends of the digital age, a tale of a mysterious arcade game that has captivated the imaginations of gamers and conspiracy theorists alike. This is the legend of Polybius. The 1980s were a golden era for video games. Arcades were thriving and new games were constantly being introduced, each one trying to outdo the last in terms of graphics, gameplay, and sheer addictiveness. It was in this vibrant gaming culture that the legend of Polybius was born. According to the legend, Polybius was an arcade game that appeared in Portland, Oregon, in the early 1980s. Unlike other games of the time, Polybius wasn't just addictive, it was dangerous. Players who tried it reportedly experienced intense psychological effects, including nausea, seizures, nightmares, and even hallucinations. Some even claimed that the game had the power to control minds, with some players suffering from memory loss and strange compulsions after playing. But the most unsettling part of the story wasn't the game's effects. It was the men who supposedly monitored it. According to the legend, men in black suits were frequently seen visiting the arcades where Polybius was installed, collecting data from the machines and observing the players. These shadowy figures were said to be part of a government experiment, using the game to test psychological warfare or mind control techniques on unsuspecting players. Then, just as mysteriously as it appeared, Polybius vanished. The machines were removed from arcades and no trace of the game was ever found again. But the legend lived on, fueled by whispers and rumors, growing more elaborate with each retelling. To understand the legend of Polybius, we need to go back to its origins. The first mention of the game appeared online in the early 2000s on websites and forums dedicated to video game culture and conspiracy theories. These early posts described Polybius as a rare and mysterious arcade game that had appeared briefly in Portland before disappearing without a trace. The story spread quickly, captivating the imaginations of those who read it. After all, it had all the elements of a great urban legend, a mysterious and dangerous game, shadowy government agents, and a cover-up. But was there any truth to the story, or was it just a well-crafted hoax? Let's start with the name Polybius. It's not just a random word, it actually has historical significance. Polybius was an ancient Greek historian known for his work, The Histories, in which he described the rise of the Roman Republic. He was also known for developing the concept of cryptography, particularly a cipher known as the Polybius square, which was used to encode messages. The choice of the name Polybius for this mysterious game could be significant. It suggests a connection to codes, secrets, and hidden meanings. An apt name for a game rumored to be involved in mind control and government conspiracies. But does this connection provide any real evidence that the game existed, or is it just another layer of the myth? One of the most intriguing aspects of the Polybius legend is the description of the game itself. According to those who claim to have seen or played it, Polybius was unlike any other game at the time. It was said to feature surreal, abstract graphics with pulsating shapes and colors that seemed to warp and shift as the player progressed. The gameplay was reportedly both hypnotic and disorienting, drawing players in and making it difficult to stop playing. Some versions of the legend describe Polybius as a puzzle or shooter game, where players had to navigate a series of increasingly difficult levels while the game's visuals became more intense and unsettling. The game was said to have a strange, almost otherworldly quality, as if it were designed to affect the player's mind in ways that other games couldn't. But despite these detailed descriptions, there's one glaring problem. No one has ever been able to produce a copy of the game, or even a screenshot. In an age where almost everything can be found or archived online, the complete absence of any physical evidence of Polybius is suspicious. If the game truly existed, why has no one been able to find even a single piece of concrete proof? The legend of Polybius isn't just about a mysterious game, it's also about the men who supposedly monitored it. These men, often described as wearing black suits and sunglasses, are a key part of the story. They were said to visit the arcades where Polybius was installed, checking on the machines and observing the players. According to the legend, these men were government agents collecting data on the game's effects as part of a secret experiment. This part of the legend taps into a long-standing fear of government surveillance and mind control. During the Cold War era, there were real government programs like MKUltra that experimented with mind control techniques, often on unwitting subjects. The idea that a government agency could be using an arcade game as part of a psychological experiment wasn't entirely out of the realm of possibility, especially in the context of the time. However, the connection between Polybius and government experiments remains speculative at best. There's no credible evidence linking the game to any real government programs, and the men in black suits could easily be a fabrication, inspired by popular conspiracy theories of the time. Still, the idea of government involvement adds an extra layer of intrigue and fear to the Polybius legend. It suggests that the game wasn't just dangerous, it was part of something much bigger and more sinister. While there's no concrete evidence that Polybius existed, the legend does have some parallels to real-life events, particularly with another arcade game from the same era. Berserk. Berserk was a popular arcade game released in 1980 by Stern Electronics. It was a fast-paced shooter game where players had to navigate a maze-like environment while battling robots. Despite its popularity, Berserk became infamous for a different reason. It was linked to the deaths of two young players. In 1981, 19-year-old Jeff Daly suffered a heart attack shortly after setting a high score on Berserk. Less than a year later, in 1982, 18-year-old Peter Bukowski also died of a heart attack after playing the game. These incidents led to speculation that the game's intense gameplay could have contributed to the deaths, though there was no definitive proof. The Berserk deaths fueled fears about the potential dangers of video games, and it's possible that these events helped inspire the Polybius legend. The idea of a game that could harm or even kill players wasn't entirely fictional. Berserk, after all, had a real body count. However, the similarities between Polybius and Berserk only go so far. While Berserk was a real game with real consequences, Polybius remains elusive, with no evidence to support its existence beyond the legend. So if there's no hard evidence that Polybius ever existed, why does the legend persist? The answer lies in the nature of urban legends themselves. Urban legends thrive on mystery, fear, and the unknown. They often start with a grain of truth or a plausible scenario which then gets exaggerated and distorted as the story is passed from person to person. In the case of Polybius, the legend taps into several powerful fears and anxieties. Fear of government surveillance, fear of losing control over one's mind, and fear of the unknown effects of technology. Polybius also benefits from its timing. The legend emerged in the early 2000s at a time when the internet was becoming a major cultural force. Online forums and message boards allowed the story to spread quickly, with each retelling adding new details and twists. The internet provided a fertile ground for the legend to grow, reaching a global audience and sparking debates about its authenticity. The mystery of Polybius is also part of its appeal. The fact that no one has been able to prove the game's existence only adds to its allure. In an age where almost everything can be found or explained online, Polybius remains one of the few mysteries that has resisted resolution. Over the years, numerous people have tried to uncover the truth behind Polybius. Some have scoured old arcade game catalogs and advertisements looking for any mention of the game. Others have searched for people who might have played it or worked on it, hoping to find someone who could confirm the legend. In 2011, a documentary filmmaker named Stuart Brown released a short film titled Polybius, the video game that doesn't exist, which explored the legend and its origins. Brown interviewed several people involved in the gaming industry, but none could provide any concrete evidence that Polybius ever existed. The documentary concluded that the game was likely a hoax, a story that grew out of the fertile imagination of the internet. Despite these investigations, Polybius remains elusive. Every now and then, new evidence surfaces, a supposed screenshot of the game, a flyer advertising it, or a first-hand account from someone who claims to have played it. But these pieces of evidence are usually debunked as hoaxes or fabrications, further muddying the waters. The legend of Polybius may never be conclusively proven or disproven, but its impact on gaming and popular culture is undeniable. The story has inspired countless articles, documentaries, and even video games that play with the themes of mind control, government conspiracies, and the dangers of technology. In 2006, the developers of the popular game Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories included a reference to Polybius in the form of an arcade machine named They Crawled from Uranus. The game's name and mysterious backstory were clear nods to the legend, showing how deeply it had permeated gaming culture. Polybius has also inspired a wave of indie games that explore similar themes. Games like the Stanley Parable and Pony Island play with the idea of breaking the fourth wall and manipulating the player's experience, much like Polybius was rumored to do. These games use the legend as a jumping-off point to explore the psychological effects of gaming and the power of suggestion. The allure of the legend lies in its mystery. In an age where almost everything can be explained or debunked, Polybius remains one of the few unsolved mysteries, a ghost in the machine that refuses to be laid to rest. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed this exploration of Polybius, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more horror stories and scary stories from the world of urban legends. And remember, sometimes the scariest creatures are the ones we create in our own minds. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.